This is the fiddle tune that I don't know if I'm going to tell the story tonight, but this is the fiddle tune that changed my life. It's why I'm here, why I'm going to be in Tioga County for a few days, why I was just in Livingston County and Avon, and if you look at my cards and all the places I go, everywhere I go it's because of this tune, and I may sing it. I may get back to the story later, but I'm going to get you to the gnome part of the show here. My favorite tune is called Cluck Old Hen. Cluck, cluck, cluck. Cluck, cluck, cluck. My old hen's a good old hen. She lays eggs for the Depauville man. Sometimes a one and sometimes a two and sometimes enough for the hold-on crew. Cluck, cluck, cluck. And my old hen's a good old hen, also lays eggs for the Depauville women. Sometimes a one and sometimes a two and sometimes enough for the hold-on crew. Kids left before I got to their part. Cluck, cluck, cluck. Now I'm going to do this. This is kind of fun because I don't usually do it like this, but I do this. This is like my storytelling thing that I can go on for 20 minutes on that with a long story that I might kind of catch the thread again. But this fiddle is, when I started playing in my mid-20s, 30 plus years ago, which was down here outside Chapel Hill, North Carolina. I spent time there. That's where I was living when I started playing. I had a housemate who was a banjo player. I actually had a banjo in my car. I don't never play banjo, but I can do it for kids. It's this clawhammer style. And he had parties. He was a good banjo player then, and I was the boring housemate. I didn't play. And there was a guy who was going to be a furniture maker. We started to build furniture. This was the fiddle that he was playing and was going to quit playing. He left it after the party to sell. I bought this fiddle for $100, fiddle, bow, and case. And when I started, my housemate said, "Ken, you're scaring the cats. Quit scaring the cats." I was stubborn. I kept playing. I moved up to Alaska, to learn, lock yourself in your fiddle room all winter, etc. But I've always been shy about my playing. I'm here, I can play. I know I can play. I play okay, but from the beginning, I've known people who are really good, like not just the best, but the best of the best. I've been blessed that way. I've known people who are really good. And I'm kind of shy. I go to parties, I go to festivals. I don't have to play because I visit, I talk, I meet people, I pick up gigs that way, I do various things. But when I lived in Nome, it was great for my fiddling. You know why? I was the best for 1,000 miles. I was playing a lot of them, but I was getting really pretty good. And the thing about this too is that when I lived in Nome, I was a college professor. I taught over telephone. Imagine if, let's allow Watertown to be not Juneau, but shrink it to about 3,500 people. And then it becomes Nome. That's where I was living, 3,500. But to get from Watertown to Depauville, and there's like 300 people. How many people are here? There's like 1,000 in there in Depauville. About 500. Well, that's kind of like. But imagine going from Watertown to Depauville, you got to get on a plane. And you get from here to Clayton. Well, it's maybe you go on your snow machine. They call snowmobile snow machine, or you get on a plane again. And to get to, I'll have to start picking on Theresa again. You get there, you get on a plane, or you get Sackattarville, you get on a plane. Everywhere's a plane. There's no roads. Where there are roads, but there's only 3 roads I know, and they don't connect, and they're only open for a few months a year. So that's where I was living, and I was teaching over the phone to villages. And there was money in the budget. I traveled to villages. These are Inupiat Eskimo villages. There were the furthest away Yupik Eskimo village, Stebbins, they call it Stebbins. And there was on St. Lawrence Island, which is if that's known, and that's Russia, St. Lawrence Island is, there's two villages, Savunga and Gamble. Gamble is 40 miles from Siberia. If you follow the story of our former governor, it's one of the three places in the state where you can actually see Russia. And I would travel to these villages to meet my students. These students had to have master's level, doctoral level commitment to take remedial English classes. So I do what I can to help them. And every village had a school. And let's see, I guess I can do it right here. That's the equivalent of me knocking on the door of the principal's office. I'd show up and say, I'm here to talk to my college student and do a phone class tonight in the village. Can I spend the day in the school doing some writing and doing fiddle with the kids? I do this now, I get paid. Not only do I get paid pretty good money, but even then, the logistics to get somebody out there, it's huge. Here I was just showing up with this fiddle. This is my first fiddle, I got another fiddle there. This is the fiddle that I would take. And every school would just go, yeah, you know, it's part of service, you know, it's part of what I would do. And in Gamble, 3rd and 4th grade teacher said, you know, after I was there, they said the kids had never seen a violin before. So I went from being like the best for 1,000 miles, and now I get on one plane ride, and then I'm like making history. I'm doing like a historic thing by bringing a fiddle to a place.
The only.
What's that?
The only.
Yes, this fiddle is, so I wrote a poem about this fiddle that I'm going to share. It's my favorite. I talk about my favorite fiddle tune. This is my favorite poem. I used to have it memorized, but I don't do it that much these days. It's called Village Fiddle. Show you. I toted my junker, side seam already cracked, an old cheap box of wood that would take the steep banks of small plains aiming for runways, the bumps and jostles of sleds hooked to snow machines, the ice, the wind, nights in the villages. Higher education missionary around students' homes where I visited but never fit. To liaisons' offices where the state-issued equipment sometimes worked. To local high schools and elementaries where I volunteered service. Fiddle closer to my heart than the backpack full of books. Indeed, fiddle closer to my heart than the frozen, broken truth. Bloody pump, buried in utter darkness. Quick to unsnap the case, I scratched tunes where no one had played real life old time music to Eskimos and the odd whites in that weathered land. The pied fiddler I might have been, gently placing the beat-up instrument in others' hands, giving up the bow. Good for smiles and laughs, random questions and comments. A 3rd grader. It must be like having a dog always making noise. You must never get lonely. A high schooler. Is it hard to learn? One of my college students. Why are you out here? Where is your family? That's what they say. Why are you out here? Where's your family? And if you travel to Alaska, these villages are like the furthest, although there's occasional tourists, very, very occasional. And the tourists who will go out to gamble, you know why they're there? They are the most, I don't want to say masochistic, but the most dedicated birders. So you can see in North America, you can see birds, because you're 40 miles from Russia and you're seeing birds. But that's like very well-heeled and crazy echo travelers might go out there. But even going to Nome is far, and then take that next ride. There's no place to stay, really, at these places, and there's nothing, sort of far places. And you look at it and you say, this is really impoverished. I mean, there's maybe the school where the principal lives, and maybe there's like a washtub. That's the only place with running water. So they all still, I mean, 20 years ago, and probably to this day, because I haven't been out there.
What about the church?
church wouldn't have plumbing. It was in honey buckets is what they had, in the houses. I've stayed, there was another village in Wixit. It's thinking, no exit. I spent a week in Wixit and stayed at a teacher's place, and you're just at the honey bucket is what you're doing. This was in the mid-90s by then, so that's, it's 20 years ago.
That means no shower, too.
No, you shower, at the school or at the washateria is what you do. Yeah. Washateria. Yeah. So that's so the kids have never seen the film, so I wrote that poem, and I'd go back, and the kids may not test well. They didn't test well, but the kids, they're smart. They're smart like kids here, like smart like kids in Syracuse and Rochester and everywhere else. I go, kids are smart. So I'd say, what do you remember from my last trip? And you know what they'd say? They'd say, I remember you never shaved. Or they even had a better answer, which I learned what teachers didn't know. They'd say, oh yeah, he's back, Chan. That's what they have to think, is that teachers didn't know. They don't know who Cheech and Chong are. So they know Cheech and Chong. And anybody who has a beard and glasses, who's not Eskimo, is Chong. He's back, Chong. So these fourth graders, he's back, Chong. It's like, and it's a big, it's a surprising drug culture all the way out at the end of the world. But there was that. Or the kids would say, I know you. You're the poetry guy. I still got my bookmark and cards, which I give. There's some free bookmarks and cards over there. Or the kids might say, I know you. You're the fiddle guy. Play the cat song. And I'll play the cat song. I play out there, and I'll even do a cat poem for you. That I have to do my other fiddle. I know I have two fiddles, by the way. Here's a little bit of a lesson for you. Is test your ears too. This is the same. Not the same. So I can play, when I'm playing certain keys, I can play something that really makes it sound older and more archaic. This is, so if a violinist, your best, Thousand Island violinist, pick this thing up, you would see his or her brow furrow, like, it's not tuned right. Well, it's tuned to play certain kinds of things. This is more standard tuning. So
you can do that.
I'll play the cat song. What's that?
You can do that with the guitar too.
You can, yes. So classical guitarist would go, what have they done? So I'll play this, do the cat poem, and then I'll play Cluck Old Hen again, probably, and get that. So you'll hear why kids would remember this. And there's not many cats out there. Dogs have a reason of being, they can be a work animal. They can pull sleds. A cat, I remember somebody saying, yeah, there's a teacher who had one 3 or 4 years ago, but it died. Not the teacher, the cat. The moon, the trees, the clouds, the worlds of brews as you creep going ledge to ledge. One fabulous death left to fritter, your purr knows gravel, your meow, a memory of strawberry. For the first time you find yourself musing about muskrat, rabbit, the meaning of mouse. Lucid, vulnerable, shy, you edge to your ninth. That's just a philosophic cat poem. So I'll play, before I go to Cluck Old Hen, I'll share one more gnome poem from the Gnome Poems book. Since Someday, if I'm back here, I'll write a Depauville poem for you.
Oh, that'd be
Or
nice.
if I'm at one of the schools around here, I write poems for schools I go to. I write these acrostic poems. But this one is, you can see the difference between here from this part of Jefferson County and Nome. I'm going to find the poem here. It's called An Evening of Local Poetry, sponsored by the Nome Arts Council. It is in here somewhere. Here it is. So I see there's a little bit of food here, so you'll see the difference between here and Nome. A spread of reindeer, moose, king crab, smoked salmon, whale meat we dip in seal oil, Eskimo food which we wash with cold duck, Budweiser, a bottle or two of schnapps. Nothing special here. We speak of snow, wind, the nature of drift. We eat and drink as simply. I read that. I think you all know about snow, wind, and the nature of drift. You would be in Nome. Nome is, once again, it's like big wind, cold, snow. You know, you would probably say, oh yeah, we know this. So, and it is further north, so it's a lot darker. And Nome's a tough place. It's an interesting place. So I'm going to play the Cluck Old Hen again. And while I'm playing it, because we're about the end, if anybody has any questions about Alaska, about writing and the poetry, or anything else about me or about the music, feel free to raise your hand, because I know Karen is there by my book, around them. It's not by. You all can buy it if you want. She's in proximity to the books. I have them for sale. Looks like there's some snacks and some water. So there's not the cold duck Budweiser powder.
Oh, well, thank
But no me here, I don't think. But I'll play this Cluck Old Hen again, and I have a long story that I'm not going to do here tonight with this. And if you have any questions, I might have one thing I might share. Oh, you have a question already? Yeah.
Is Darwin still in Anchorage?
Yes.
Is Darwin still alive?
Darwin, so I think you're talking about that bar there, Darwin's
Yeah,
Theory.
Darwin's
So I don't
Bar.
know if that,
He used to send out newsletters all over the United States.
so I don't know about that part, because I only walked in there a few times. I remember being there when it was still, when you could still, and maybe you still can there. I know certain places there's food you can't smoke now. I mean, New York, you can't smoke indoors with that, but that used to be a smoky place. So, I used to be able to deal with the smoke, but then I got older and I go, I can't deal with this. But yeah, I know exactly what you mean by Darwin. They said, yeah, I know that place. So any questions? Or I mean, you all come to this library regularly. Is this anybody's first time here ever? First time to this library? Wow.
We're
I'm
not all from
surprised.
Depauville.
What's that?
We're not all from Depauville.
Okay.
I want to buy the backdrop.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
All here year round, or some of you seasonal?
Yeah, Florida.
You're all here year round?
No,
No.
Okay.
visiting my mother.
Okay. Wow.
Wisconsin half a year.
Oh, this is all good. This is good information, isn't it? Karen's the director here, so she's the one who brought me Canada. Canada? I almost had somebody come from Ottawa who I met. I have a second home around Lafayette, Louisiana. Anybody spend time down there? It's where the Cajun and Zydeco music is like at. I go out dancing a lot down there. And on my first 2 hours into the leaving Lafayette, I stopped in New Orleans. I knew a band that was playing dance hall and met somebody who asked me if I was from there. And I said, no, I'm 2 hours away. Are you from there? She said, no, I'm from Ottawa. And her friend who was from Ottawa had a music that is on the radio, so actually I gave her one of the CDs and she played it on the radio on one of the public station in Ottawa, and she was going to come down, but she couldn't get off work. So it was kind of special with that. That's good. I got one more little piece before I finish this up here. Before I finish, I should mention I didn't even get to, so I could do a whole show. I survived a plane crash about 18 years ago, so I'll do one short plane crash poem. And it's a good small town plane crash poem. It's called Gnome Celebrity. 2 years writing, teaching, fiddling, sharing all I could. I was known and known maybe as one of the crazies who rode a bike winter long. Then I walked on a plane crash. Old timer, but I didn't think knew me, now greet me by name. I saw how others watched and whispered. I let drunks touch me for luck. And my old hen's a good old hen. She lays eggs for the Depauville men. Sometimes one and sometimes two and sometimes enough for the whole darn crew. My old hen, she clucks a lot. Next time she clucks, she'll cluck in the pot. Before I finish, thank Karen Lego and everybody, with her bosses and bosses that just let her have this job so she could have me come here. So I work at this library, and I think there's an organization, Poets and Writers in New York, that they had the financial support. And if you know people in Tioga County, I'm going to be at the Senior Center tomorrow. I'm doing a kids show. I'm doing what I did here on Tuesday. Then next Thursday, I'm in Cortland County in Homer doing something like this. I'm doing a little house concert in Binghamton, New York Friday, and then I'm kind of, in November, I'm going to be back in New York, it looks like. So maybe see how that all goes. And thank you for coming.